Hello, and welcome back to Serendipity Intended. My name is Tracy Ann, and I am so glad that you are here. It is time for another prompt in my Februllage 2026 challenge. Today I am working on day 20, which is family. And I have not been filming most of my pages. I have been doing some, but to be honest with you, it is April and I am doing a lot of work in my February journal or challenge journal now. And you know what? I'm kind of okay with that. As you can see, I haven't done all of the prompts in order, and I'm also quite honestly okay with that. So I've been trying in this journal to sort of think about whimsy and wit with my journal pages, but I have to be honest with you, this one I don't really think is going to turn out with either of those two elements. I decided to use this Tim Holtz paper doll family as the focal point for my family page. And I've also been low-key obsessed with the color combination of pink and orange. So I guess for me that's maybe a little bit whimsical because it's not a color combination that I typically use. But that's pretty much where the wit and whimsy ends. So thinking a little bit about some of my placement, and definitely want to use this tag here. When I store my tags like this, I print them out from the printable and then I cut them fairly closely so that I'm not saving and storing a bunch of extra white paper, but I don't generally fussy cut until I'm actually ready to use it on the page. For me, that's the best of both worlds. Every once in a while I get in a mood where I just want to sit and fussy cut a whole bunch of things, but generally I just kind of cut them out and store them without being terribly, terribly precise. Now, because this is a vintagey looking photo and I'm using images printed on white paper, I did decide to go ahead and use this walnut stain around the edges of at least most of the items on the page, particularly like this round circle where the white edge really, really shows up, just to kind of help pull everything together and obscure the fact that a lot of these things are just digitally printed. I also decided that the family felt a little too new because it's kind of glossy. So I used some of the walnut stain to age the picture a bit. And then I decided to use my sanding disc to rough things up a little bit further. I put some wax paper underneath just to catch any of the paper dust that got generated so that that wouldn't end up on my page. And then roughed around the edges just a bit and also put a few scratches on some of the darker areas just to, again, age it a tiny bit. It doesn't show up super well on camera, but it definitely does show up. And then from there, it just was a little bit of, fussing and playing around. But I was trying to decide what to do with that white space at the top. And I had these little stencils on my desk, and I decided to go ahead and use them. Maybe, again, these sort of dandelion types of stencils also introduce a little bit of whimsy into the page. I don't think I'm stretching too much on that idea. And I wanted to use the tallest image here, but I didn't want to inadvertently stencil on one of the others. So just a quick masking with some washi tape sort of solved that problem. I didn't have to be quite so precious, and I was able to place that reversed image exactly where I wanted it without having to worry about stenciling where I didn't want to stencil. So it's a great tip. and then, the washi comes right off again. So now kind of playing a little bit with the collage, I did decide that I was going to grab just a few items, labels and things from my stash and try and limit myself to just those handful of items. It's a fairly small page and didn't want to clutter it up too much, but I didn't have anything that was quite wide enough to go across the bottom and kind of ground those people so they weren't sort of standing in space. So I just grabbed a piece of scrap paper from my scrap bowl, and my cutter is getting a little bit dull, and I apologize that you can't see that, but I completely screwed up the paper. So I had to go with my trusty scissors instead. I don't know if that's happened to anybody else. Now, in retrospect, I wish that I had inked this a little bit. I did not. So I'm pretending now that it's part of the back page. Wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do here. Um, so I was thinking a bit, and then I just decided, no, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to glue this down as is and call it a day. One of my goals for this journal, besides sort of the prompts and the idea of playing with wit and whimsy, is really not to spend a ton of time on pages, definitely not overthink what I'm doing, and just let it happen. So I did take some time to go ahead and mark the one edge of that location so that after I put the glue on, I would be able to go back and put it in the right spot again, particularly because it's an underneath piece. And that level of fussing I'm okay with. It's the, thinking and overthinking and rethinking that I'm really trying to push myself to not do. Just make a decision, commit to it, and then move on. I really, really wanted to use this paper, and I just ended up really loving the way the rose on that label sits on the mom's shoulder. So that's just an encouragement. If you have a piece and it's not quite working in sort of the traditional position, where you can read the text straight, try rotating it or even flipping it upside down, and see whether or not that works better for you. So flipping this around allowed me to see the rose and have a little extra element in there, and also to have that really pretty black on tan label behind the parents, which I think really, really makes it pop. I did decide to let the pink circle hang over the edge just a little bit to kind of create a bit of a tab that's also part of the page. I really like doing that. I toyed briefly with taking the backing off of the family because it is somewhat thick, and then decided not to. This isn't a particularly bulky journal right now, so I'm okay with a little bit of extra bulk. I'll just use my art glitter glue because I find that that holds those thicker objects a little bit better than just the glue stick does. The other thing that I do like about the glitter glue is it gives me just a few moments to kind of scooch things and reposition them if I decide that I need to. So throughout the pages of this journal, I've been adding text, And one of the ways that I've been doing that is by using these Tim Holtz strips. And I thought I would do that here using the black ones to kind of tie in with the black and white images of the family. And I found one that I thought worked really well with this particular page, and that's this one. So it says, focus on what's important. And of course, I think that family is incredibly important. So that just, it fit well. Now, I don't normally put my text up at the top of the page like that. And I just, for some reason, the top of the page being empty was really bugging me. And so I decided just to go ahead and put the sentence strip or the text strip up there. In retrospect, maybe I should have done something different, but that's what I did in the moment, and so I'm going to be good with that. Now, the last thing that I needed to do, of course, was to add my label for the date. I've been using this machine to create a little dynamo machine to create a little label. And since this is the 20th day's prompt, the label is going to say 20th. So just a nice way to know what the prompt was without necessarily keeping the word for the prompt on the page. I had to fidget with the location of that a little bit and then ended up deciding that it worked best there, overlapping the image and going onto the tab. And that's it for this page. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I hope that, as always, you make an absolutely wonderful day. Bye.